So we will get started. I will officially call the regular School Board of Education meeting of February 28th, 2022 to order. And if you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, that'd be great. Thank you, Mr. Dahman. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda that you know of? All right.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor made by Jen, seconded by Rick, to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor respond with aye. Aye, and opposed nay. That motion carries. Thank you. Action on minutes, which are in board docs.
I'll move to approve the minutes for the regular meeting held on February 14th, 2022, as presented.
Motion on the floor made by Dave, seconded by Leslie, to approve the minutes for the regular meeting held on February 14th, 2022, as presented. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor respond with aye. Aye, and opposed nay. Thank you. That motion carries. And action on vouchers.
Mr. President, I move to approve general checking account vouchers totaling $954,488.78 as presented.
Second.
Motion on the floor made by Joe, seconded by Leslie, to approve general checking account vouchers totaling $954,488.78 as presented. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed nay. That motion carries. Thank you. Moving down to the student council report. Mesa, thank you for being here tonight.
Okay, tonight's student council report is about we went on our field trip to the Capitol, where we toured the building with Mr. Verwink, a former teacher in the district who's now a member of the Wisconsin State Assembly, and it was a very good day. I had lots of fun. And we were working through our prom planning, and our next meeting is March 10th. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will move down to public comment. I checked before, there was no one signed up, but thank you for checking again, Mr. Dahman. Okay, thank you. So we will move down to item number 2, the referendum. And Mr. Huffman, I saw you come in just a second ago. So thank you for being here tonight, and we'll look forward to your final referendum report.
Great. Well, good evening, and thank you. My previous reports have, of course, been focused on the issues of the month, the successes and the struggles each month along the way of the project. But if you'll allow now, I'm going to back up and I'm going to focus on the big picture of the project and how it's been wrapped up. Taking you back, actually, I think I can only take 2 of you back. Kim and Joe, all the way to when we first started on the endeavor. And of course, I wasn't even here for the very beginning of the endeavor. But after the design process, working on the elementary schools, additions to all 4 elementary schools, and really some significant remodeling in a number of them, I think the additions to those buildings went very well. A lot of it was accomplished during the school year. And I think other than putting up with some noise, the disruption to the academic environment in the school year was kept to a minimum. Those projects weren't without some difficulties. I would say some activities that required some rework. I think in retrospect, it was good that those projects were out on the front end. There were some things along the way where the crew had to go back and modify some of the work. So it was nice to be able to have those same managers around working on the middle school, working on the high school, and to be able to go back and do those. All in all, good work. I think in terms of construction delay, probably the most significant part was out at Consolidated, was the smallest of the projects there, but it got started later than the other elementary schools, and some difficulty wrapping that up in advance of the school year. But all in all, I think the product that was turned over on the elementary schools was quite positive. Moving into the middle school, very good construction project. And as I look across my experience with projects, and specifically with school projects, that was a project that went very, very smoothly. It was managed very well. We had very few quality concerns throughout. We were in a favorable position that you were able to add some work scope to that project along the way. I think the most significant piece was renovations to the road and the parking lot that weren't originally in the project, but it became clear that there were some repairs that were needed there, and able to get it done in the referendum project. So I think that was a real plus, and again, a good quality addition, followed by some impactful renovation in the existing school. Most specifically, I think the cafeteria and the kitchen. Pretty good environment there now for both production, serving, and then the cafeteria functions in the school. Over at the high school, I really think you got an outstanding STEM wing. As I look at projects across school districts, and we're now on our 15th school district project, I can't think of another one where the STEM wing environment exceeds what you got here. Hats off to the designers and the way that came out in the construction process. I think it's a very up-to-date and high quality STEM wing addition. Got a highly functional, secure entry. I think that's worked well. Much improved athletic venues. If you think back to your pool previously and your pool now, it's a tremendous change. Your competition gym, I think, is also quite spectacular. Expanded band and choir spaces, impressive student and community gathering space in the former pool area. So all good there. That's a job where there were significant changes from the conceptual design to actually what got built. So a very interactive design process there, and resulting in what I think is a good product in the end. Did have some quality issues along the way with the high school, things that we've discussed in the past, concrete staining in the STEM wing that didn't turn out quite right, but that got redone and fixed. And then we've talked about the pool deck, which there is a solution for now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how that's going to advance. Obviously, some delivery delays with the high school as well, most specifically the competition gym. I think each month we talked about where we thought that was going to end up, and then we talked later about revising that and so on. So long time coming in getting to occupancy of that gym. But also at the high school, there was some real benefit in being able to add some scope. I think Stephen Shantz identified that while we were improving some of the mechanicals, we were leaving behind the central boiler plant, and that would be problematic for spaces, new spaces that were served from that plant, and also existing spaces. So via a vote by this board, we added that work scope to the project, and we're able to do it within the $59.9 million referendum work. So financially, when you look at the big picture, I think the financial picture was very successful. The project has completed within the the referendum funds that were available, plus donations that you were able to garner along the way. And we had an owner contingency that was, I think, judiciously used throughout the job. Oftentimes, you can get to the end of the job and find out the good news, you've got some money left, and then you say, well, what do we do with that money? What would we have done with that money if we had known it was available a year ago? This is a good example of a project where you were able to conservatively dole out your owner contingency money along the way and buy up some good quality features, things that I've mentioned here already. But by doing that, you were not only able to have timely enhancements with the construction process, but also to use some of that money for the projects that were earlier in the job, the elementary schools, the middle school. Of course, those were done earlier than the high school. So I think it was a good use of doling out that money in a overtime process. But then as we've hit the end of the job here, it's with an asterisk, not quite the end of the job. There's a couple of items left, items that we've talked about along the way. Certainly the pool repairs, a lot of disappointment with the surface of both the pool deck and the locker rooms for the pool. And there's been a lot of thought put into what should be the solution there. And I don't know if you're up to date on what those solutions are, but in the pool locker rooms, they're going to get a new finished surface to the floor, and it will be an epoxy flooring, the same as what was installed in your PE and team locker rooms, which has been quite successful. And then out on the pool deck, you're going to get a two-color troweled-on surface, similar to what's there, but a new application to that surface. That work will be accomplished between March 28th and May 23rd. That's the window in which your pool is available for those works. And that work is entirely funded from within the construction contract work. So savings along the way, construction contingency, so it results in no additional cost to you. Subcontractors that had a failed product have owned up to that and are making replacements. And then finally, we've talked about the design miss related to your firewall that separates your old traditional gym from what was the pool, is now your new community space. A design miss there that's required some remediation work, actually a pretty big deal. That together with some code problems with electrical feeders on emergency circuits. Lots of discussion over the last months about how that should be remedied and then who should have culpability for that. So that work is scheduled. The electrical side of that is scheduled for spring break this year, and the firewall side of that is scheduled for July this coming summer. And that wound up in a funding split between the architect. They have owned up for the majority of it. 66% of the cost is being borne by the architect. After a number of discussions about the value added portions of it for the owner, it wound up being 34% carried by the school district. That came not out of added to the project, but actually out of the balance of the contingency funds. So big picture, I think a good quality product and the financial wrap up, I think has been good. That's my report. Questions?
Mike, I just wanted to take a second to thank you and your team for all of your work. I think you did a great job. You have a really great product. I've talked to lots of people, whether it's students, staff, parents, visitors from outside the district. Everyone's very impressed with what we have. Doing such a great job. Budget. I think we got a really great bang for our buck. Thanks a lot. Thanks you and your team for it.
Good, thank you.
Mike, will you be back upon completion of the floor remediations, just to give it one last look and make sure the outcome as it was anticipated to be? Or Stephen, do you do that? Or what will be that final, we approve the floor and the pool locker room process?
Well, I'd love to come back and see the product delivered as we'd always hoped. So I'll certainly come back. Stephen, of course, will be looking at it on a daily basis.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So one final comment from me. The most consistent player through this entire process has been your own Stephen Shantz. And I can tell you've been exceptionally well served by that. As I've said, I've worked with a number of school districts. To have someone of his talent and his focus on the job has really been tremendous. He's done a heavy lift on this job, and you all have, and the district has absolutely benefited from his work on this project, as I expect you benefit from his operations. So, thank you.
Thank you very much for all of your attention to detail, dotting all your I's, crossing all your T's, and for working so well with Stephen. It's been great to have you here on a regular basis and getting the updates. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
So we will move down to item number 3, superintendent update. We'll start with update, discussion, and possible action on the Milton Forward Plan. Mr. Dahman, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. There are a couple things that I want to update the board on. I'll do a short review of the data. The number of positive cases continues to go down, both across the county among residents, as you can see in both the metric page and in the memo. As reported at the end of last week, across the county-wide, about 30 new positive cases per day across the county, the whole county, and a shade over 120 active positive cases per 10,000 residents in our school district. The dashboard with the number of positive cases in our schools showed 11 active positive cases and 2 close contacts among students, and 3 active positive cases and no close contacts among staff. And the number of, or the percent of students who are fully vaccinated is continuing to rise. It's not rising very quickly, but it's continuing to rise as more people take part in that. And we have implemented the changes to our safety protocols that were put in place at the last board meeting. We do want to encourage families to self-screen before sending students to school, both for students and staff. That's an important step. If someone is feeling ill, to make sure that they stay home. We'll continue and have been continuing to monitor our metrics, and we'll continue to take a look at those and update folks as the situation changes. One change that I want to highlight, and it came out late in the day on Friday, so it wasn't included in the original memo or the recommended motion, is that the CDC has updated their guidelines for transportation for schools. They no longer, as of late in the day on Friday, no longer are requiring masks be worn on school transportation. And so that has an effect on us, and it's built into the recommendation or the recommended recommendation that is made. So with that change by the CDC and the continued decline in the number of positive cases, I recommend that we continue following the same safety protocoling on transportation that we're doing in our facilities, and that's included in the recommended motion that's listed below. Don't know if there's anything else that I wanted to update folks on, but open to any questions or comments by board members.
I have one. So on your recommended motion, you included that we are that we would continue to direct you to continue to monitor the data and so forth. To my knowledge, that hasn't been changed from the policy. So was there a reason it was added?
Yeah, I think that the reason that that was put in is that what was approved at the last board meeting is we would use the metrics that were defined to determine whether we would bring the Milton Forward Plan back to the board on board meetings. If we had 2 consecutive weeks of any of those 3 metrics met. So that's what we're operating under now. What this motion would do is rather than, and it's likely that that would continue to be the case. So if we didn't make a change to that, the last action by the board would be would require us to keep bringing the Milton Forward Plan back. So directing me to monitor the data, make updates to the plan as needed, and only bring the Milton Forward Plan back to the board if there are any major changes that occur with the data, then it wouldn't be a situation where that would be an agenda item at every board meeting moving forward based on the metrics that were put in place previously.
Okay, well, I'll move to end the required masking on student transportation as of March 1st, 2022, and to direct Superintendent Dahman to continue to monitor the data, make updates to the Milton Forward Plan if needed, and bring the Milton Forward Plan back to the board for consideration if major changes in the data occur.
I'll second that.
There's a motion on the floor made by Leslie, seconded by Dave to end required masking on student transportation as of March 1st, 2022, and to direct Superintendent Dahman to continue to monitor the data, make updates to the Milton Forward Plan if needed, and bring the Milton Forward Plan back to the board for consideration if major changes in the data occur. Any questions or comments on that? Hearing none, all in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed nay. That motion carries.
Thank you for those updates, sir.
Yes. So we'll move on to Red Hawk highlights. Before I turn it over to you, Mr. Dahman, I have a quick presentation to make. So the WASB has a member recognition program, and I have a certificate here and a pin for one of our board members, Mr. Rick Mullen. He has moved on to the next level. And so I will pass that on to him with great thanks for all the hard work and the dedication you give to the board and to this community. And thank you so much for your service. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And now I will turn it over to you for Red Hawk highlights.
Unmute here. The Red Hawk highlights will be a standing agenda item and an opportunity for me, and sometimes we'll bring in other people to shine a spotlight on some of the great things that are happening across our school district, whether it's recognition of students or staff or groups of students or staff, or just highlight some upcoming or previous activities that have happened across our district. So I have a few things that I want to highlight. Sometimes we put these things in the Red Hawk Review. Sometimes there's not enough room in the Red Hawk Review or it's not appropriate for that. But I wanted to highlight that we had a group of Northside students travel to UW-Madison to participate in a Science Immersion Day, and they had a great experience there. Coming up later this week, on Thursday of this week, the Milton High School Band is hosting a swing night. Mike Huffman spoke earlier about the facilities that we have, and it's a great opportunity not just for our students to demonstrate their skills, but also an opportunity for community members to get into the schools and see our new facilities. So we're looking forward to that opportunity. Last week, the Milton Middle School and High School hosted teachers from Jefferson School District for training on our AVID program. It's a program that we've had in place for a few years, and other districts that are moving in that direction have expressed an interest in coming in and seeing some of the work in action. At the end of this coming week, we are hitting the end of our second trimester. So the school year is moving along. We have parent-teacher conferences coming up to correspond with that end of the trimester. And a professional development day on Monday, March 7th. We have our elementary schools next week are participating in Read Across America. Each school does a variety of activities like dress-up days, read-alouds, mystery readers. And I want to give a shout out to our elementary librarians and other staff who get the ball rolling to organize that at East West Harmony, and our support staff at Consolidated for organizing the events at that school. This week is Crossing Guard Week, so we've been working with our local law enforcement officials to recognize our crossing guards. If you're not aware of it, our crossing guards at our schools are a partnership between the school district and the city of Milton, and at Harmony, a partnership between the school district and the city of Janesville. So we are going out and recognizing our crossing guards with a little gift and thanking them for the great work that they do, making sure our students get to school and get home safely, and also provide a smiling face. Oftentimes, those are the first adults that students see on their way to school and the last adults on their way home. We are in the middle of our hiring process for our Director of Student Services position. We are going to be interviewing 6 high-quality candidates coming up on Wednesday of this week, and our plan will be to bring a recommendation for a candidate to the board at our March 14th board meeting. So we're very pleased with the quality of the applicant pool. We're looking forward to those interviews coming up on Wednesday of this week, and we'll be doing some follow-up work with the top candidates there. And lastly, I want to recognize a science teacher at Milton High School, Paula Schmidt, who has been named the Milton Area Chamber of Commerce Teacher of the Year. That recognition is extremely well deserved, and the formal recognition ceremony will be on March 10th at the MACC Awards event. So we're very proud of the work that Paula Schmidt does at Milton High School, and it's a very well-deserved award for her. That exhausts the list of things that I was going to highlight.
Thank you for sharing those things. Any questions for Rich about any of the things he mentioned? Always good to hear what's going on in the different buildings. Thanks for that update. So we will move on to item number 4, new business. Mr. Gosnick, we'll turn it over to you for discussion and possible action on the 2022-23 Wisconsin School Nutrition Purchasing Cooperative Resolution and Agreement, and that's a mouthful.
Yes, it is, Mike. Thank you. So yes, this is our annual agreement with the co-op. We've been with the co-op for many years now. Some of the benefits we get from being in the co-op is it gives us that purchasing power when we go out into the marketplace to purchase food from our food vendor, which is Gordon Food Service. Working in the co-op, then we also have the procurement specialist. This past year, it's been Pro Team Advisor. In the memo packet tonight, you'll see that Melby Consulting is going to be the procurement specialist going into next year. So that'll be a little different for us, but we look forward to working with them. They take care of a lot of our RFPs for our milk and bread bids and such. And then this is the last year we'll be contracted with GFS, Gordon Food Service. So they'll be doing a lot of heavy lifting next year to go out and get bids from different food purveyors for the following school year. So because of that purchasing power we have as a co-op, we do get a rebate based on the number of cases of food that we order through Gordon Food Service. In last school year, the rebate we got just recently was for a little over $3,000. So the $300 that we spend, we get back, I would say, tenfold in the amount of work that the procurement specialist does for us. And then with the rebates and stuff, we get back from our purchasing power. So I am recommending we stay with the co-op.
Any questions for Mike about that?
Mike, is there any feeling as to what percentage savings is recognized having 56 schools in the cooperative as it relates to buying power versus if we were doing it on our own? I mean, is there a savings from wholesale? Is it 10%? Does anyone have a feel for what the bottom line benefit is at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think it depends on the food product you're looking at purchasing. This year, of course, has been hard because a lot of manufacturers are passing along their costs. And, when we get a purchase bid for a certain cost, it technically stays there, but then there's always that clause, like if the extreme thing happens, we have the right to pull out and raise costs. And we've seen a lot of manufacturers do that over the last several months, just because prices are higher. So I would say probably 2 to 5%, but I would have to do a deep dive into that to get more of a definitive answer.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll make a motion to approve the Wisconsin School Nutrition Purchasing Cooperative Resolution and Agreement as presented.
I'll second.
Motion on the floor made by Rick and seconded by Leslie to approve the Wisconsin School Nutrition Purchasing Cooperative Resolution and Agreement as presented. Any other questions or discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor respond with aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Thank you, Mr. Gazdeck. Appreciate that. We'll move on to item B, action on 2021-22 open enrollment alternative applications, which are in board docs.
I'll move to approve the 2021-22 open enrollment alternative applications as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion on the floor made by Leslie, seconded by Dave to approve the 2021-22 open enrollment alternative applications as presented. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor respond with aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move down to miscellaneous. Action on staffing reports.
I'll move to approve the staffing report as presented.
Second.
Motion on the floor made by Joe, seconded by Leslie to approve the staffing report as presented. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor respond with aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Motion carries. Moving down to item B, action on gifts and donations.
I'll make a motion to approve the gifts and donations with gratitude.
I'll second that.
Motion on the floor made by Rick, seconded by Dave to approve the gifts and donations, always with gratitude. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor respond with aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Motion carries. Upcoming meeting dates, Mr. Dahman.
There are a couple upcoming meetings that we already have scheduled and 2 that we will need to schedule. Our next regular board meeting is on Monday, March 14th at 6:30. A reminder that that's our only regular board meeting scheduled for the month of March because the fourth Monday of the month would correspond with spring break. So Monday, March 14th, next regular board meeting. We also have on Wednesday, March 9th, already scheduled a joint meeting for the finance and technology departments. So again, that's on Wednesday, March 9th, finance and technology departments at noon. Then the 2 meetings that we'll need to schedule, one will be a HR committee meeting. We'll need to schedule with the MEA to begin teacher negotiations. And we can talk about possible dates for that. And the other is a policy committee meeting. And Kim, what was the window that we wanted that policy committee meeting to be in?
I don't think we'll be ready for the March meeting to do that. So it can be after the March 14th meeting for policy and then into April for going to board committee and after.
So if we plan to bring it to the board on April 14th, we just need to have that policy committee meeting sometime before then, and keeping in mind that spring break is in there that last week. So maybe that first week of April when we're back from spring break might be for policy.
Yeah.
April 6th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm fairly open.
Like
So
4 o'clock on April 6th. That works great.
Yeah, okay, 4 o'clock. So that's the 6th.
And then for the HR committee, we're looking for a date for the first round of negotiations with the MEA.
The next Wednesday, the 9th, work, like 4:30.
We're already meeting at noon for finance. I'm just dealing with the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can make that work.
We gotta make it for the staff,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Yeah.
but you'll check with,
4:30 on the 9th, we'll reach out to the MEA and then verify.
okay.
That was 4:30 on March 9th, if that all works out for.
Did you get that, Kim? Okay. That was it for meeting dates.
All right, thank you. So I will entertain, we're moving down to item number 6, executive session. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, subpoint 1, subpoint E, and 19.82, subpoint 1, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And it has to deal with strategy for negotiations with MEA and review of the data. And just note that we will not be returning to open session. We'll be adjourning from closed session.
Also move.
So the motion was made by Joe, seconded by Leslie. We'll do a quick roll call vote. Dave? Leslie?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Mike is a yes. Rick?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
And Shelley?
Yes.
Thank you.